emotion, or it is an emotional feeling, or it is a cognitive process. So it is related to one's belief or what type of feeling I have. That is more important. Somebody may attitude may be different towards different person. So it is based on the person to whom I am going to respond to, and it can be, the attitude can be sometimes negative, or it can even be positive. So it is like attitude, basically a person's perception or cognitive process, how to react to it. So as I told you, it is emotions or a belief or a behavior. Then our attitude can be towards an object, or it can be towards a person, or doing a thing or not doing a thing. So if you take an example of that 5-star chocolate, we can see a person, one will be asking for its puppy kids where it is, and he will not respond. Even that is a one type of an attitude. So it is a result of an experience, and how influence, that is how our influence is, how our behavior is having powerful influence. So as far as attitude is concerned, it is not constant. So attitude will be changing from person to person, or that may, how do we learn those attitudes? Through our perceptions, or our seeing other people, or through others behavior, or through media. So this is how we learn, and it has got three foundations. One is emotions, second one is emotions, we use some emojis also in texting messages and all. So when I'm very happy, my attitude will be very good. So when I'm very sad or depressed, that will be negative, totally different. So it is based on the emotions, behavior, and so how this attitude is being formed. So as far as attitude is formed, as I told you, it is not inherited. This we are learning from the environment, in which environment I am there. So we learn from both external and internal source of environment, and we are trying to classify that into a direct experience and social learning. So when you're talking about direct experience, it is purely formed based on one's past experience. So what all the experience I have, that will be in my cognitive mind. So that is formed on, based on my experience, so towards an object or a person. For example, we can say, if somebody has said that X individual is not good, not good, not good. So from our perception, we have got some image about. So that is because of the once a past experience. Maybe sometimes if I have spoken to him, he would have not reacted to me properly. Then I will think, I know she's not so good. She's not at all responding. Oh no, she's an egoistic person. Like that, we try to classify. That is based on the experience. Regarding social learning, it is derived from the peer group, or like observing from their models. That is, we try to observe, or from the observe like through respect. So what we do is we are expressing some opinion which is displaying on their attitude. So we have to get that based on the observer. So we are viewing somebody, how he is reacting. Based on observation, we try to know. And so next one is individual association. So how association we have. As far as the social learning is concerned, it is getting the attitude from the religious organization or the culture which we belong to. When does the social learning starts? It starts from our childhood. That is when we get some attitudes from our parents or something like that. So from our young age, how do we express? That is the social learning attitude. Regarding the types of attitude, we have job satisfaction, job involvement, and organization. So we will talk about job satisfaction in the last slides. So this is a job satisfaction is like how do we feel about our own job. It can be positive or negative. I love my job. I don't like my job. So the attitude towards our job. So that is a job satisfaction. Regarding job involvement is it is trying to identify with the job, how we are participating in the job, how we are trying to consider our performance or our self-worth. So how much important my involvement towards it. Organization commitment is trying to identify with our particular organization based on its goal and the like how you want to have your commitment, whether I want to be affectionate towards my organization or more normative, or I want to be continual commitment towards my organization. So that is based on the organization climate and commitment in organization. So now we will talk about the attitude types. We have 5 types of attitudes. So first one is attitude of kindness, attitude of mercy, attitude of compassion, attitude of forgiveness, and attitude of humility and self-respect. So when we talk about attitude of kindness, it is selfless motivation within true love. I have true love to every mankind. I love all the human beings. That is the attitude of kindness. Regarding mercy is I'm trying to show some sympathy. Oh, it is a very so sad, the dog. Like that we show mercy when the dog has been hit by some vehicle or something. We try to show our mercy. So when you talk about mercy, it is related to sorrowness or some illusions like that. So we have to learn this also. This is mercy can be related to empathy. The next one is regarding the attitude of compassion. Compassion is we are talking about a strength that is a positive side. Yeah, that is we are talking about a good virtue, like he is a very good. So positive side, this is not very easy. We have to understand. Only then we can choose a companion. Like compassion we have to. So what we do is we try to identify and we have to understand, that is self-criticizing ourselves. So we have to know the innate goodness and strength. So only that we can know the genuine, why he has done it. Like that we try to think about genuineness of the factor. So it is one form of attitude. The next one is attitude of forgiveness. So this attitude of forgiveness is like if somebody has done some mistake, like offended. So what we do is we try to find out the condition, that is why they have offended. We should when you are taking it just we are like trying it personally. So we have to find out the false image what has been given to ourselves. We have to know, that is consciousness, how consciously we have to understand. So we will talk about the self image and all in later slides. So we have to know about ourselves, that is I am knowing about myself. That is with respect to forgiveness. Then tolerance. So humility and self-respect is related to tolerance, that is and also talking about the responsibility and cooperation, what I am going to do even when I am not being appreciated also we have to look. So this attitude of humility is only when I have the courage or courage to go through this illusion, and also it is purely based upon my ego. Which one is ego, which will touch my ego? That is, we have to differentiate between self-respect and egoistic. Now how can we measure this attitude? So this attitude can be measured through some table, like we have that 5-point Likert scale, like we have to have some report. How do we do it? We try to commonly find out, so self-analyzing. So it is like getting the response. So I will give you some questions, you answer those questions. So that questions will give me the feelings what you have towards the work, all this. So this will be in the form of survey. Then regarding this, this is not indirect taxes, sorry, I made a mistake. It is indirect tests. That is testing ourselves. So we have to try to test ourselves. So what we do is we try to go for testing ourselves. Then direct observation. The next one is psychological reaction techniques. So when we talk about this psychological techniques, what we do is we try to go for, as I told you, through report we get all the studies, and we have some survey. So we have some questions and we will have those questions and we will give some scaling, like 5-point scale or 7-point scale. So based on the 5-point scale, if we have give numbers like for strongly disagree, I will give 1. For strongly agree, I give 5. So undecided, I give 3 in between neutral. So like that we give this, and we use 3 types. One is equal appearing interval scales, or if we use summated rating scales, or if we use semantic differential scales. So this is how we use this. And as far as the equal appearing interval scale is concerned, it is developed by L.L. Thurston scale. And regarding this summated rating scales, it was developed by Rensis Likert scale. So we call it as also Likert scale, summated rating scale. And regarding semantic differential scale, we call we call it as a semantic differential scale, which has been developed by Osgood. So as far as the semantic scale is concerned, we will talk about how each scale is coming into consistence. And regarding semantic scale, we have some allocation, that is we are giving scores, and we give multiple dimensions. So we take selection. So we have some scaled semantic alternatives. So based on the alternatives, we will try to score. So we give some opposite scores along with the scales. So based on the object. So from that we try to get the response. Regarding this summated rating scale, it is also called as Likert scale, I told you. So what we do is we are trying to simply get numerous statements. So we get only statement and for every aspect. So in equal appearing scale, as I told you, we have some statements and we give some values. So which one is most favorable and which is unfavorable, we try to predict. So this is with respect to the measurement of. Then as far as this attitude is concerned, we have beliefs, values and attitude. This is a combination of, and we will talk about the change in attitude. How these attitudinal changes are being happening. So first one is it is cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance is nothing but it is a mental stress or some discomfort which an individual is having because of his contradictory beliefs or ideas or values at the same time. So it is an incompatibility method where an individual, we try to perceive between 2 or more attitudes or between behavior and attitude. So this theory of cognitive dissonance has been profunded by Festinger, and he has made this research based on the attitudinal change. So what he has said is this change is inconsistency, and it is purely based on the beliefs, dissonance in beliefs. So what they do is that is one cannot remain long inconsistent towards a belief. So we have to try to resume, or we try to remove this inconsistency, trying to make him believe or good which is right or wrong. So this is with respect to cognitive dissonance. So we have this theory like this is one form of value theory. So this is the theory for attitudinal change. So we have an action and we have a belief which is inconsistent. This is called as dissonance, and what we do is we try to bring in changes. So change can be in the belief, or change can be made in action, or change can be in action and perception. How do we view? So this is called as cognitive. So it is cognitive is with respect to our store in ourselves. So it can be both the way. So you should not be stealing those office supplies. So one side of your mind says like that, and another side of your mind is saying, what is the big deal? You have some privilege to get something. So sometimes, so one way we feel it is not good, and another way we feel bad. Like that is the cognitive dissonance. So it is like a feeling of getting a car, like for example, like it's a post-purchase psychological tension or anxiety. For example, how do we get this information? See, you bought a car, okay, and when somebody is saying that car is not good, sometimes if they say how you should react, in that case what I should do is I have to confirm my purchase. So this car is the best car, I have to show the rating, all these things I have to ask my friends, yeah, you have to applaud my choice. So in such way, I'll say, see, I bought this car, this is best, like that, like that we try to praise, so that what other people will think, yeah, they will try to applaud ourselves. So even we go for example like that, is we are trying to confirm, that is affirmation of our behavior, called as cognizance. The next one is reinforcement theory. This reinforcement is nothing but somebody is trying to reinforce, that is தமிழ்ல தூண்டுதல்னு சொல்லுவோம். That is what is called as a reinforcement. So what happens is, it is based on the communication. That is, somebody is saying, yeah, good, bye, super, like that. Somebody is saying, it is a persuasive communication. So what is this concept is, a change in attitude will always have some regard for incentive or reward. So if I change, I will get that. So that can be in the form of reward, or it can be in the form of incentive. So that is called as reinforcement theory. So this theory is based on that a behavior is a function of its consequences. So what is the result? So result is, if the behavior results in pleasant consequences, I will get reward. Very good, I'm so happy. Then I will repeat it. Okay, so if I say go answer, then you give me 100 rupees. Very nice, I'll be happy for that. Then behavior that results in unpleasant consequences is like with less means, then I will not be repetitive. So it is less in repetitive. That is, now we will talk about this reinforcement theory. So it can be a positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Already have discussed in my previous slide, previous PPT which I posted. If you have, please go and look to it. Regarding this positive reinforcement, it is a positive behavior which is having positive consequences. So that is, a manager is praising me. That is so nice. So manager is praising the employee. Negative is manager stops nagging the employee. Manager demotes employee. That is the punishment. Regarding extension, managers is totally ignoring our behavior. So extension. And next one is Heider's balance theory. So this is called as attitude consistency theory. So what happens is, we try to balance and unbalance. So this is a process of attitudinal change. So this theory is trying to being explained with one's belief which is unbalanced. So this unbalance is due to stress or tension. So what happens is, when we feel pressure, we want to relieve the pressure. So what we do is, in order to balance, we will change our attitude. So we have two things. One is sentiment and another one is unity. So that will affect our own belief. So this is more sentimental, or we can even say unity. It is purely based on the particular individual tendency. So this is, as I told you, negative and imbalance. So we have a celebrity, athlete, and consumer and sports brand. So there is a linkage between athlete using our sports brand. So when there is a news, it's an example I have taken for you. So when there is a news of a scandal which has broken in the particular area, so consumer will not normally change from having a positive relationship to the athlete to having a negative one. So this change, what happened, will have a trait that is out of balance. So the cognitive dissonance will tell us that consumers will seek to restore balance. But how will they? The negative impact, how will they? That is the question we have. Then this is with respect to comprehensive theory. And this comprehensive theory has been promoted by McGraher. So what has been is, he has developed this comprehensive theory, as I told you, based on the attitude change. So all these theories are only for attitudinal change. So he has given some 5 points for us to explain. So one is attention, comprehension, yielding, retention, and action, that is the behavior. So first we have to presentation, that is we are giving the message, and how the receiver is trying to give attention, that is receiving the message or the content. Comprehensive is trying to argue, or they are trying to convey the message. Then next is receiver is trying to receive the message or even arguing, that is yielding the result. Then retention is storing in memory, and behavior is trying to receive that behavior, that is he is trying to behave. Whatever message argument he is acting. So this is the given for persuasion, communication persuasion matrix. So as I told you, we have an output, input, source. So source can be through message or channel or even destination. We have to give attention. So we try to do this. So what we do is we have some chart like for that also. So this is the chart, and this is given by, as I told you, this is given by McGrath. So here we have input. So inputs can be in the form of goal, source, message or channel, receiver. Output can be in the form of we are trying to attend to the message, or we are interested, we learn how to do, we learn what it is, we even export to the message, or we try to change the attitude. Output can be in the form of we are storing the message, as I told you, in the channel, or we try to react, or we enforce, or sometimes we consolidate the action. So this is the output. So now next is how we are going to change the attitude, important ways. So first one is trying to fill the information gap, or we are using fear, that is changed by giving fear. See, if you don't do, so both fear can sometimes cause attitudinal change, sometimes it will not give attitudinal change. So we have to look at it. So sometimes people will be very stubborn. So we have to try to have some moderate fear level. Then discrepancy. So here it is when there is a discrepancy which is there between attitude and behavior, we have to solve that discrepancy between the attitude and change. The next one is regarding the impact of peers. Peers is the people who are having some high credibility. They can bring in some change, but not always. Then regarding the co-opting the approach, this is like it is another way. So what we do is the people who are dissatisfied with some certain situations, they will try to involve in improving things. This is co-opting the approach. Now we will look into what is called as values. Values is a fundamental belief or practice about what is desirable, worthwhile and important to an individual. So values can be with respect to family, helping others, or successful career, education, religious commitment are values. So values can be of two types. One is instrumental value and second one is terminal values. So as far as the values is concerned, as we know, it is a general belief, or we have some moral flavor which says the individual's judgment ideas about what is good, right or desirable. So we know which is good and which is bad. So there is with respect to attitudes. So attitudes are always predispositions, and we have some really belief, like we try to judge you. Attitude is like as I told you, what we have predisposition, but values we say that is values. So as far as the two types is concerned, as I told you, we have the terminal values. Example with respect to brotherhood spirit, that is very kind and helping others without any expectation. Social recognition is with respect to very famous, respectful, and we want it to be regarded high in the society. Exciting life is having cover very adventurous life, comfortable life, true friendship, mature love and religious or spiritual life. Regarding instrumental value is having self-controlled, we are tolerant, restrained, self-disciplined, independent, and we are responsive to the situations. Sometimes we will be very adjusting or flexible. Contented is I am happy with the status. Yes, I have everything. I am very happy with that. Interdependence, purely we are trying to help each other, depending on like that. Capable is having the capability. So we are trying to have skills. Calmness, very calm, restrain emotions. We don't show the emotions. Sometimes we will be very sad, but we will be acting as if we are very happy. That is called as restraint. So here we have the examples of instrumental values and terminal values. Instrumental values are honesty, ambition, responsibility, forgiveness, tolerance, all this. So this is based on the Rukic, his source. From that we have taken this. Regarding terminal values, as I told you, with family, happiness, wisdom, comfort, real friendship, that is real friendship, freedom, pleasure, intimacy. Then next one is what is job satisfaction? See, I enjoy, I do. That is the facets of job satisfaction. So it is purely dependent upon some of the factors. One is supervision, stress, identifying skill, social relations, then promotional opportunity, work itself, autonomy, workload, pay, very good fact. Now, what are the importance of job satisfaction is it is trying to improve physical and mental health, and it is increasing productivity, it is decreasing the absenteeism, decrease employee turnover, and it is also increasing job satisfaction. Now, we will see what are the things which is there in job satisfaction or linkage. So as far as the job satisfaction is concerned, when it will be there, we get good career growth, we get good salary, work-life balance, you can balance your work, job security, recognition, awards, all those things, and challenges. Always we need challenges in life. Regarding job satisfaction, as I said, job, pay, promotion, supervision, colleagues, work environment. So this is with respect to the job satisfaction. The job should be always giving autonomy. It should make you create, there is creativity, training and interest. Reward can be in the form of pay, recognitions, promotions. And regarding the context is with respect to environment or your organization policies. And for us employees concerned, he is more concerned with the motivation. It can be intrinsic or extrinsic. Expectations, that is wage, what is related to the job. And regarding needs, he needs economic, physical and psychological needs to be fulfilled, basic needs. Job satisfaction in first case can be intrinsic or extrinsic. And regarding needs, it can be because of the loyalty or the effort. So this is with respect to the factors which is determining the job satisfaction. So we can talk about job satisfaction is, as I told you, these are the main factors how we will be talking about the efforts. So as far as the job satisfaction is concerned, we have the organization factors, support from the organization, training and development and leadership style. Motivation factors can be skill and ability or extrinsic or intrinsic motivation. Individual characteristics purely depends upon his age factor, his educational factors and gender, and these are the determinants of job satisfaction. Then regarding employee performance, the rate of absenteeism, how he is achieving his target or quality work life, that is called as. Now we have different methods to measure job satisfaction. So we will talk about the single global rating method and the summation score method. So in single rating method, we try to have some, as I told you, we have some questions and we remarkably find out more accurate method. In summation score method, we give some values. How we do it? We give some element, like we identify some elements and we give some specific feeling and question. So this is the first case. So we use scaling. So 1 to 5. How would you rate your job satisfaction? So when we give 5, we are strongly satisfied. When we give 1, then we are not strongly dissatisfied. So we find out why we have dissatisfaction and find. And this is with respect to job visits. So what are the scoring? As I told you, we will give some values to each score, and based on the mean score, we will select which one is the best, more So as far as the theories of job satisfaction is concerned, we have many theories, but I have highlighted only few of them for our point of view. So we have the two-factor Heisenberg's theory. So two factors is, one is job satisfaction, another one is job dissatisfaction. So we have job satisfaction as well as job dissatisfaction. So job satisfaction is how it has been influenced. So here we have the motivating factor. As far as the Heisenberg theory is concerned, we have two things. One is a motivating factor and another one is hygiene factor. So we have to try to improve the motivating factor, so it will increase your job satisfaction. Same way, when we improve the hygiene factor, that will create a decrease in your job satisfaction level. So what are the factors which is motivating or influencing is recognition, responsibility, advancement, personal growth and achievement. Regarding job dissatisfaction, hygiene factors is policy and rules, supervisor quality, base wage, salary, co-worker relationship and working conditions. Regarding the next theory is the value perception theory. This is a theory which is giving us the formula, like we have some of the theories. So here we have this value theory. So it is given by E.A. Lockheed's value theory, and this concept will give us the job outcomes. So employee will give some matches. So what are the desired thing? He will give the match. So overall satisfaction. So he will give a supervision minus supervision, that into how we want. So there is some scale like, we give factor like, and it will multiply. So which factor is giving more? Pay satisfaction, promotion satisfaction, supervision satisfaction, co-worker satisfaction, and the environment, work itself. So we will analyze the overall satisfaction. So here, as I told you, we try to find out this value percept theory. So we have facets like a dissatisfaction is equal to what we want and what we have. So that is very important. So what we want reflects how much of value an employee wants. So what we have, VH, that is what we have, indicates how much of that value the job supplies. The difference is how important the value is to employee. So next one is Adams equity theory. So here we talk about two factors. One is input and output. So here what we do is we have the scales which is measured against comparable references in the marketplace. So what I put into my job, that is time, effort, ability, loyalty, tolerance, flexibility, integrity, commitment, reliability, and personal sacrifice. So all these I am giving, committed towards my job. So what is the result I get out? That is the output. Because I'm spending my time, because I'm getting my effort, I'm very loyal to the organization, I'm putting all my ability, I'm always committed to my job, I'm always integrated towards my job, I do many personal sacrifices. What is the result out of it? That is called as output. So when we talk about output, I get very good pay, so happy, I get bonus, I get perquisites, I get benefit, I'm very happy because I have a secure job, I will be getting all the security, I'm recognized, I'm getting award, very good, I'm so happy for that, I have interest, I have developed myself, I'm reputed, everybody knows me, everybody praises me, super, so joyful, enjoyment. So next one is organizational commitment. So here the layman definition states that organization commitment is how I'm involved, and I'm identifying of individual within organization. So this is a positive social relationship which is existing between me and my organization. I am committed. Yes, this is my organization. I'm so happy. I'm a part of this organization. You enjoy it. So the definition is it's one's strong belief and acceptance for organization goals and desire and intention to maintain membership with organization. So it is a culture, that is job satisfaction has some variables which are related to Maslow's need hierarchy theory. That is the relationship between Maslow's need hierarchy theory and organizational. So this is the general model. So we have effectiveness, affective, continuity, and normative. So these are the dimensions, and we have the organization commitment. So we have one dimension affective. Then next one is two dimension is internationalization, that is trying to identify. Then regarding continuity, we have one dimension, that is continuance, and second dimension, two dimension is cost of leaves or lack of alternatives. I don't have no alternatives, so I have to continue. Then normative is that is a gratitude, or we have a moral obligation towards our organization. So this is the organization. Now we have represented the concept of employee organization commitment in this chart. So we have, as I told you, affective commitment, continuous commitment, and normative commitment. Affective commitment is through desire. With the basis, shared value, personal involvement, and identify relevance. Regarding continuous commitment, like I don't have like investments, or I don't have alternatives. Then normative commitment is through psychological contract, or I'm getting benefits and reciprocating some norms. Then this is the employee behavior, and this is the organization climate. So based on the representation of these three commitments, we talk about the climate. Then what are the factors which influence organization commitment? Job satisfaction, managerial support, role stress and role ambiguity, empowerment, then job insecurity, and then the dimensions, as I told you, organization climate will be two things. So one is job satisfaction and another one is organization climate commitment. So it is based on the communication satisfaction, appraisal system, empowerment of employee, motivation of employee, teamwork, employee wellness, then the trust relationship between employee and manager, and the brand value of my organization. So these are the factors which decide the job satisfaction, and that will lead to organization